Traditionally, fabricating night guards involve multiple steps with long turnaround times. With 3D printing, we can now produce high-quality, custom-fit night guards in-house, reducing wait times and enhancing patient satisfaction. So what types of night guards do we produce? So this will really depend on patient needs. Thanks to the advantage and the evolution of 3D printing materials, we can create a range of appliances. From soft, hybrid, or even harder materials can be done the occlusal splints. Using the iTero Design Suite software, we can customize both the thickness and the design for each patient, ensuring a precise and comfortable fit. When it comes to production, this is a very key point. Multiple appliances can be printed simultaneously, a key advantage for high-volume production in our practice. In summary, 3D printing has completely transformed the way that we create night guards and bite splints. The combination of speed, flexibility, and cost-effectiveness enables us to provide a better, more efficient solution to our patients. Let me show you our bite splint workflow in a daily routine basis. Okay, so now we will take all the records with our new iTero Lumina for a full arch scan. And look how precise and how fast we can go even deep in the posterior part of the palate. So it will be very easy to have everything connected in one shot. Once we complete the scanning process, the data is sent directly to my iTero. From this cloud platform, we will access the iTero Design Suite to design the bite splint for this patient. Okay, so now that we have our patients already scanned, we will open my iTero.com, and as you can see here, you will have all the data of the patients, even the Align Oral Health Suite, but you will find space of iTero Design Suite that is installed in a dedicated PC that we have already designed and prepared for this time of work. So we're gonna click on iTero Design Suite, and you will see how immediately the software will open. Here you will see the patient scan with the orders that you have already done in your iTero. You will see everything that is needed to be done. So here we are designing now a bite splint, so we will design everything. Here you see the printer that is already connected. As we were mentioning before, one of the great possibilities and advantage that Design Suite is giving us is that we have like direct connection of my iTero with my printer. So now we're gonna have the order, we have the design, we're gonna start and open the design phase in my Design Suite. Now the software opens, we're gonna load all the information. And when everything is already installed, we're gonna do the auto segmentation of the tooth. We're gonna select. And of course, now that we're starting this process of auto segmentation, you should know what type of night guard you want to design. And it really depends on the doctor preferences. So we are going to do the auto segmentation. As you can see, it's a very easy and in not so many clicks can be done by the doctor, or as we were mentioning before, we are delegating this in most of the times in our practice. We move on, clicking next. Everything is very friendly to see. On that part, we're gonna set the insertion direction and we will see how everything is. We can block the undercuts, we can play a little bit with the offsets, angles. We can see the bottom properties with the smooth, thickness, and all the diameters that we wanna change. So these parameters will be customized, depends of your needs, depends of the patient needs, so you will be able to manufacture something that is dedicated to the patients based on your knowledge and based on your clinical preferences. So we have already adjusted, and you can see here how we have already the software giving us already a orientation of the design that we want to achieve on our night guard. Everything is coming in very few clicks. And one of the very important parts that we have to apply in all these steps is the virtual articulator. We have different options, different articulators, again, depending on your knowledge, depending on your preferences that you want to introduce on this. Here we adapt everything manually, we import the information, and the software is going to be and giving us all the options that we can have it. You can open depending of your needs, if you're going to do what the type of restorations, like in this case, the night guard they're going to produce. What we like to do normally, for example, in this case, that is the one that we showed before, we want to give like normal contacts, posterior balanced contacts in the posterior area, and for the anteriors, we want to have like an anterior guidance and canine guidance. And this is what we're gonna do step by step here. In this part, we're gonna block posteriors in a very easy way. So this area is gonna be like more smooth, so you can fine tune and give the contact points that you want to play. You have the brush and you can play a little bit with the brush. So putting the opposing arch, you will be able to customize the contact points and also the ramps in the anterior side in order to achieve the anterior guidance, as we were mentioning, and the protrusive and lateral guidance. So you can see here how the contacts that we want to apply are the thickness that we will want to have after in our night guard, like in this case. So this process doesn't take so much time, and of course it has a little bit of a learning curve of the terms of design. But with all the updates that we have been seeing in ITRO Design Suite, this is becoming faster and easier, and we are also starting to delegate some of these parts, of course, supervised by us, the doctors, for the team, because it's becoming easier. And like in this patient that doesn't have any type of pathology, it's just to relax a little bit the muscles, because she was like biting a little bit and having some temporary disorders in the muscles. So we are able to design and customize the contacts. Again, you can add and remove a smooth and flattened surface. You can adapt and you can make this bigger or shorter. You know, it's like kind of painting in all of this information. You can see how we are playing now that we have already contacts in the posterior area. We're moving in the anterior part in order to achieve the guidance that we want to have. We don't want to have so much hard contacts in these parts. We want to have like some points, sightly points in all these areas. Okay, we are finishing more or less all this part, as you can see. We can flatten some areas, we can play a little bit with the guides. We can smooth with this part. This is also important to smooth these areas. Besides that, after the printing is finished, we're gonna hand polish everything and be sure that everything fits perfect into the patient's mouth. But it's also good to smooth some of the areas, okay? So when we have everything done, we can click next. We will save it with the patient's name. It will go immediately into the software. And as you can see here, we have the preview of this information. And this, again, that's one of the big benefits, that when we have everything ready, we will click into the print. And after the design in ITRO Design Suite is done, you will click again and your printer software will appear, and you will be able now with the connection to send this directly to your printer. You will have the connection with your printer. Everything is connected Wi-Fi. You will check that you have the correct resin, and now you will send it to print. We're gonna apply. Everything is ready. We remove the supports, add some extra supports if needed, depending on the orientations that you wanna give. And now everything is ready for production. So now that the printer process has finished, we're gonna check in our printer how everything has come out. Come with us. So now important, wearing gloves. We're gonna remove the build platform. We're gonna check that the print has come nice and clear. And one very important thing in terms of production, that as you see here, we have done 4 night guards in one printing time. So again, we can see the versatility also in the production phase of this type of restorations in the printing world and the connection with the iTero Design Suite. So after the printing process is finished, the initial part, now comes the second part that is very important, washing and curing. For the washing, we have to put the material into alcohols that have to be really synchronized with the type of resin that have to be using in the printing part. So be sure that you have the alcohols in the right conditions and you are using the right resin synchronized with the alcohol in order to have the correct chemistry in these printed bisplints. So now that we have removed our bisplints from the build platform and we have weighed the recommended time by the manufacturer, we're gonna now easily remove the supports. As you can see here, they can count very, very easy. And of course, after the curing time, we will fine tune a little bit this with our motor. We will put everything in our curing machine. And again, very important, you have to follow the time and the intensity of the manufacturer recommendations in the process of curing. This will affect the biocompatibility of your material, so please follow the instructions. After we have preset everything, we're gonna close and the curing process will start. So now, after we have correctly washed and cured our night guard and removed the support, we can use a polishing brush to fine-tune some of the area where the supports were placed. This will take not so much time and will help for the final phase of customization of the night guard. Now, one of the final steps is to add, if you want, and we recommend some universal polishing paste that with a soft brush will give the final shine to your night guard. And after that, you will be able to disinfect and have all the correct procedures to go into the patient's mouth, check the fit, check the occlusion, and check how digital dentistry is helping you to achieve predictable results using in-house productions with 3D printing and iTero Design Suite. Okay, great. So we have our night guard ready. It has been done all the post-processing steps, and we will check now the fitting, the occlusion, and the guides into our patient. First step that we check, normally it's open, please. We're gonna check how's the fitting. Okay, we can see that we have a good fitting. And what we like also to check is if there are something that interferes with the soft tissues of the patients. Because as you know, we have support that might be touching some of the areas, even though they have been removed and handily polished. We like to check also this. Okay, everything fits well. Now we will say to the patients to close gently, go close with the posterior, open, close, open, close. And depending on the design that you have done previously in iTero Design Suite, like in this case, we did like anterior and lateral guidance, we will evaluate with the patients how these have been reproduced in the reality. So open, close, move a little bit forward, please. Adelante, okay, a little bit more slightly, a little bit more forward. Stop. We can see and we will check if we have the space that we have also pre-designed in both lateral sides. Relax now, go back, go back. Now move slightly to your right side, a little bit more, okay, stop. We will check now if your Canon guidance is correct in one area. Go back, please. And the same to your left side. Go, 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 stop, And we were checking also that we have the room correctly. So we have checked now fit and guidance. Go back. We tell the patients to relax because now we want to check also the occlusion. We want to check if we have the correct contact points related to the design that we have done in the design suite. So we like to work in our cases with very thin articulated paper. So open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close. Okay, now we check the other side. Close, open, close, open, close. We want to have to see the marks. Let's take it out. And we can see here clearly how we have the contact points that we have already pre-designed in our iTero. Singular contact points in one area and the other. And then also we have the ramps for the anterior guide and the lateral guidance. So with all this detailed check, and also based on your experience, based on your know-how, and based on the design that you have already manufactured to these patients, you will have finished your night guard.